Welcome home, everyone. This is Angela Rye. I am your host of Native Land Pod, and this is my solo pod. Today, we begin with something that is so very serious and is impacting so many people. And no, it's not a beef between podcast hosts, it's something much bigger than that. Something that I want to draw your attention to because it may not be knocking at your front door right now, but it might be just around the corner. First, I want to start with what your president had to say about government shutdowns not long ago.
So tell me, if you were president, what would you do?
Well, very simply, you have to get everybody in a room. You have to be a leader. The president has to lead. I hear the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate, who's running things in Washington. So I really think the pressure is on the president.
So we recently appeared on the Breakfast Club. Native Land Pod was asked by Leonard whose fault the shutdown was. And I think if we listen to the words of the president, it's very clear who the buck stops with. I know that the buck didn't stop with the president just in 2013 or in 2014 or even in 2016. Even to this day in 2025, when your president seeks to become king, seeks to become an authoritarian leader, certainly he can hold the bag for this as well. So while people struggle to figure out how they will make ends meet during a government shutdown that has now lasted more than 20 days, it's very clear that Donald Trump believes the buck stops with the president. I want to go next to another just harrowing, terrible, awful, heart-wrenching experience that families in Tennessee are having. Let's roll it.
Students with disabilities were just forced off campus, and state officials say it has everything to do with the government shutdown. I'll be honest, when I first got the call, couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then I saw the video, and you have all of these students with their parents loading up as if it was moving day. This is the Tennessee Rehabilitation Center in Smyrna, and from my understanding, this is the only state-run facility of its kind here in Tennessee. It's hard to tell from the video, but people who were there that day called and told me that some of these students were in tears. So think about that for a second. These are students with special needs. Some of them have a disability. Some of them are visually impaired. This facility was intended to help students learn the vocational skills they need to get jobs. The skills they're learning is not just about how to work a register. It's like they're learning soft skills as well. You know, whether that's just how to talk to people, how to pick up on social cues, that sort of thing. And now they're being told, take your laptop with you, go home, and we'll do some of this learning virtually. And, you know, I've never had much experience with, you know, students with special needs, but it feels like that kind of defeats the purpose. That's where you get some of these parents who reached out and said that they were frustrated. They were shocked that something like this would happen over what's being debated hundreds of miles away. The Tennessee Department of Human Services that operates this facility said that this is something that they had to do because of the government shutdown. Now, I don't know the exact numbers of how many students this has impacted, but I do know that as you're watching this right now, some of them are still moving out and their parents are trying to find answers. The students are trying to find answers. We're trying to find answers. I sent an email to DHS to ask them, like, how does a state-run facility rely so much on federal funding that they have to force students off campus when a government shutdown hits? Still waiting on an answer for that. There's just a lot of uncertainty because this could last days, this could last weeks, this could last months. This is the third longest government shutdown of its kind in American history. And Republicans and Democrats are deadlocked on trying to pass a budget. Well, while all of that's happening, there are unintended consequences that we are watching right now, and it's impacting some of the most vulnerable students in Tennessee.
So we are now at day 21. And just so we're very clear, the last government shutdown that lasted this long, also under Donald Trump. And they are living like and voting like and moving like they don't care who this impacts. We're talking about kids with special needs who are being moved out of their housing facility, learning particularized skills in Smyrna, in Tennessee, And as the reporter said, the only state run facility of its kind in Tennessee. I want to go next to people who folks on the other side normally say they represent, they respect, they honor.
What's going on? This is your Silver Stranger 01. I hope these guys have been paying attention. This is Angela Rye on her solo pod, the Native Land Pod. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you guys for staying tuned. As you can see, she's hell bent on blaming Trump and the Republicans for the government shutdown continuation. And it's really laughable. Anyone who is paying attention understands that the Democrats are exercising their only means of leverage, withholding the continuation of the bipartisan bill. But let's continue on.
They uphold. Let us take just a quick look at how the military, soldiers in our military and their families are being impacted by the shutdown.
As I take a step aside here, there is quite a bit of military members and their families in line because of this government shutdown. We're in day 9 of it, and they're here for a food pantry. There's all sorts of food that is available, and I spoke with some military member spouses, and I spoke with some department heads here at the ASYMCA on why this is so important. What's the difference in the amount of people that you've seen from today to previous?
So when we first started coming, there definitely wasn't this amount of people. It was a lot, but it wasn't this amount to where it wrapped around the building. But lately it has been a lot. Like we were here last week and we were in line for like 2 hours.
In a normal week, we usually run out of food about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Last week we ran out of food about 10:30.
So, when we take a look at even how our own military is being treated, people who are on the front lines to protect American freedoms, or at least what used to be, even their families are being put in harm's way. And I want to be clear, this is a food bank that you heard is being run out of the YMCA. So this isn't even a government response to how they can meet the needs of military professionals, soldiers who again are making sure that our freedoms are protected. Their needs are not being met by the government. No, no, no. This is a food bank being run by the YMCA. And I think what is particularly alarming in this particular clip is they say that normally they run out of food around the 1 p.m. mark. They said just last week the line was so long they ran out of food by 10:30. There's an influx of folks who need this type of support. And gratefully, citizens all over the country are filling the gap. But should they be filling the gap for the military too? Should that be what's required of us in this moment? Or should Congress do what it's supposed to do? And should the president require that the military families are taken care of? That's certainly what you would see in an ordinary democracy. It's certainly what you would see with elected officials who lead with respect, with dignity, with care, concern, and compassion for its citizens, particularly those on the front lines. But that's not what you're seeing here. Again, it's day 21 of this government shutdown, and there's still a lot more to go. Let's take a quick turn to healthcare. We've seen the impacts around food insecurity. We've seen the impacts around education, particularly as it relates to folks who have special needs in the education space. But what about healthcare?
So, folks, this is what the current fight is all about. Uh, Nobody wants a shutdown, at least I don't. I don't want a shutdown. But what I also don't want is for people in Georgia that I represent to lose their health care because it's simply unaffordable. Let me show you what I mean. In 2025, this family of 4 in Chatham County, where I grew up, paid $559.69 per month for the lowest cost option. That's the lowest cost. Family of 4, $559.69 a month. Now look at this. Because of Republicans' cuts to health care last summer, the same family will have to pay $2,100 $131.65 for the lowest cost option. You tell me how an ordinary working family in Georgia is supposed to afford that. Republicans did this. And right now, they won't reopen the government because they're fighting for this. Well, I'm not fighting for Georgians to have their health care premiums quadrupled. I'm fighting to extend their health care and to reopen the government. My Republican colleagues ought to join me.
You know, we have been in this healthcare battle since President Obama's first term. And I'm bringing that up because I think it's important to contextualize where we are in the government shutdown fight and what this is really
They
about.
admit it.
They will tell you that the shutdown is about, making sure that folks get the tax cuts they deserve. They'll tell you that the shutdown is about Democrats who don't see the bigger picture and want to harm government workers, and put people in harm's way who rely on government benefits. But really, what this is about is a piece of legislation that was passed in July that Donald Trump errantly called the Big Beautiful Bill, signed it into law after the House and Senate passed it. Much objection in the House, but it was passed no less. And part of what happens in that bill is you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You give the rich tax breaks and tax cuts, and you instead shift something to break a system that you never liked because it was the first Black president who passed the Affordable Care Act. They tried to repeal the bill time after time after time. They took the bill to the Supreme Court. They have tried to dismantle the ACA, or Obamacare as they call it. And so this was their next tricky way to try to dismantle Obamacare. But what they failed to realize is those state exchanges, where I'm from in Seattle, in Washington State, it's called Apple Care, right? In these different state exchanges, places that have made Medicaid more accessible to people who don't make as much money as they ought. You may not call it Obamacare, you may not call it the Affordable Care Act, but these are the state exchanges that we've relied upon that were codified in the Affordable Care Act. Now, because they've worked so hard to try to dismantle a key piece of President Obama's legacy, a key piece of legislation, and a key law that has made healthcare access more attainable to American families and to the American people, they've worked so hard to dismantle that they will put you in a position where you are directly in harm's way. Now, for a lot of folks sitting at home watching this podcast, they may say, you know what? I don't really need health care like that. I'm healthy. I'm fine. I go to the emergency room if I need something. I can pay it out of pocket. I have a doctor. I have concierge medicine. Maybe that's where you sit. But there are many more who are sitting at home who need those state exchanges. All of those Black women who were just laid off their jobs, they need these state exchanges. They need to be able to rely on systems like Cobra. That
I'm here to tell you, we don't care. I'm so tired of identity politics. The first Black president, no one is coming after him because he was the first Black president. No one is trying to hurt Black women. It's not about identity. It's about character. I'm sure there are plenty of Black women who are unaffected by many of these bills because they are smart and planned to not have to rely on handouts. Um, I don't know. Maybe she has some points. Is Trump looking out for the rich? I'm sure he is. For reasonable reasons. For favors. But did Joe Biden do that? Did he have billionaires in his pocket? Come on. What are you talking about? Alright, let's give it 2 more minutes. Appreciate y'all. If y'all still watching, y'all know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Alright.
Is what is in harm's way. So when Senator Warnock talks about a premium for a family in Georgia going up from $559, that's the lowest option available on that state exchange.